There is something I need you to understand before another day passes without you knowing this. Feel your body right now, not just as a thought. Actually notice it. The weight that has been sitting somewhere between your chest and your stomach, quiet but constant. The questions that live in the still moments. The ones you have stopped saying out loud because you have asked them so many times and nothing clear has come back. You know the season I am talking about, the one where you kept asking why, where you watched things fall apart that you had worked so hard to hold together, where the people you expected to stay quietly moved on, where the doors you had believed in stayed closed, and where the timeline you had built in your mind looked nothing like the life you were actually living. And in that season, I know this because I know the kind of person who finds their way to a message like this at a time. Like this, you made a choice, quietly, without anyone watching, without applause or acknowledgement, or even a clear reason to keep going. You chose to remain, not perfectly, not without tears, not without the kind of doubt that sits heavy at 2 in the morning when everything around you is still. But you chose to keep something intact inside you, some thread of faith, some part of who you actually are, even when everything around you was suggesting you become someone smaller. What you did not know at the time is that you were being watched, closely, with full attention, because what you lived through was not random suffering. It was not punishment. It was not evidence that you had been forgotten or passed over or left behind. It was a test, a carefully designed examination of the specific things that needed to be proven in you before the next door could open. And the way you responded, the way you stayed when leaving would have been easier. The way you held on to something real when letting go felt more logical. That was the correct answer. Chosen one. You passed a test you did not even know you were taking. And today, that changes everything. Before we go any further, I want you to know what is waiting for you. If you stay until the end of this video, you are going to understand exactly what that test was looking for and why you were the one chosen to take it. You are going to see the 4 specific things that were being examined in you during your hardest season. And you are going to hear what passing this test has now qualified you to receive, because that last part is the piece most people never get to understand. So stay with me. Now, I want to talk about what you actually went through, because before I can show you what the test was, I need to make sure you feel that I understand what it cost. There is a kind of exhaustion that sleep does not fix, not the tiredness of a long day. Something deeper, bone deep. The kind where you wake up in the morning already carrying the weight of the day before, and the day before that, and 100 quiet days that looked ordinary from the outside, while something inside you was working overtime just to hold things together. Maybe you have felt that. Maybe you still do. And alongside that exhaustion, there are the emotional waves. Not sadness you can point to clearly, not joy you can fully trust. Just this shifting tide, a strange peace in one moment, and then a sadness that arrives without a trigger in the next, and then something that almost feels like hope, except you are not quite sure what you are hoping for anymore. That is not weakness. That is not something wrong with your mind. That is your inner world processing something heavy and real, something that has more weight to it than ordinary life was built to hold. And then there is the change in what you can tolerate. The conversations that used to feel fine now feel draining the moment they start. The environments you used to belong in, the rooms, the group chats, the familiar dynamics, they feel like a coat that no longer fits. You can put it on, but it pulls in all the wrong places, and you leave those spaces more tired than when you arrived. That is not you becoming difficult. That is not you pulling away for no reason. Something in you is changing, and the old environments cannot hold what is being built in you right now. There is also the dreaming, more vivid than before, more searching. Dreams where you are moving through a familiar place that does not quite look right, looking for something you cannot name, and waking up with a feeling that stays with you longer than it should. These are signs, not of something wrong with you, of something happening in you. And underneath all of it, the exhaustion, the waves, the strange discomfort in places that used to feel like home, there are 3 shifts happening inside you that most people never get the language for. The first is this. The hunger to prove yourself to other people is getting quieter. It is still there sometimes, yes, but it is losing its grip. The version of you that needed external validation to feel okay is becoming less convincing, even to yourself. The second is harder to explain. In the middle of genuine uncertainty, real uncertainty, the kind where you do not know what comes next and cannot manufacture a reason to feel calm, there are these unexpected pockets of stillness. A quiet that does not make logical sense given the circumstances. It does not last long, and you cannot always call it back, but it was real when it came. And the third is the strangest of all. You feel like you are standing between 2 versions of yourself. The one who entered this season and the one who is beginning to emerge from it. You are not fully in either place. You are in the threshold. And the threshold is uncomfortable, but it is not empty. These experiences are not random. They have a shape. And I am about to show you what that shape means. Here is the first thing you need to understand. What you went through was not random. I know that might sound like the kind of thing people say to make suffering feel less pointless, but I am not saying it to comfort you. I am saying it because across every wisdom tradition in human history, across the lives of every person who has ever walked through the kind of season you have been in and emerged from the other side of it, there is a consistent pattern. The pattern is this. The most significant formations in any person's life are never announced in advance. Think about Joseph. The story has been told and retold across thousands of years because something in it is true in a way that goes beyond any single culture or religion. Joseph was a young man with vivid dreams about his future, real dreams, the kind that felt like they came from somewhere beyond ordinary sleep, and then he was sold into slavery by the people closest to him. He went from being someone with a genuine sense of calling to a prisoner in a foreign country with no explanation, no timeline, and no visible reason to keep believing the dreams had meant anything at all. 13 years passed. That is not a metaphor. That is a real span of time in which nothing visible was moving, in which the distance between what he had been shown and what he was living could not have been wider. And then, in a matter of days, the entire direction of his life reversed, not because the 13 years were wasted, because the 13 years were the whole point. What the pit and the prison built in him, the discernment, the patience, the ability to hold authority without being corrupted by it, the capacity to face the people who hurt him without becoming defined by what they did, none of that could have been built in comfort. None of it was available in an easier path. The formation required exactly what it cost. There is a Hebrew word, saraf. It is the word used for refining precious metal through fire. And here is what matters. The fire does not create the gold. The gold was already there. The fire removes everything that is not gold, so that what remains is pure and cannot be mistaken for anything else. That is what your season was doing. Every relationship that fell away was removing what could not survive what comes next. Every door that closed was redirecting you from a place that would have capped what you were built to become. Every long stretch of silence was not the absence of divine attention. It was the specific condition required for something in you to be formed that cannot be formed in noise. What felt like being overlooked was actually being set apart. What felt like losing ground was actually losing weight. The weight of identities and attachments and illusions that were never supposed to come with you into the next season. What felt like a delay was the exact amount of time required to build what had to be solid before the next door could bear the weight of you walking through it. This had a structure, and in a moment, I am going to show you what that structure reveals about what you actually did during the hardest part of it. I need you to sit with something for a moment. If what you walked through was not random, if it had a structure and a purpose and a direction, then something follows from that. Something was watching. And I want to be careful here, because this is not a vague spiritual idea. This is a truth consistent across every major wisdom tradition ever recorded. The divine does not test what it has abandoned. A teacher does not write a difficult exam for students they have already decided will fail. A general does not send a demanding assignment to soldiers they have written off. And the intelligence behind everything, whatever name you hold for it, does not place its most demanding seasons on people it has no intention of bringing through. Tests are reserved for the ones being prepared. And the difficulty of the test is not accidental. The harder it was, the longer it stretched, the more it reached into you, the more significant what is waiting on the other side. You were not punished because you were forgotten. You were tested because you were trusted. That is a different thing entirely. And here is what I need you to understand about how this test was given. You were never handed the exam paper in advance. No briefing. No explanation at the start saying this is what will happen, this is what it means, this is when it will be over. You were placed in the center of it, in the confusion, in the loss, in the silence, and observed. Not because the divine did not care about your pain. Because the test was specifically designed to examine what you would do when you had no proof, no guarantee, no visible reason to continue. And in part 2, I am going to name the 4 specific things that were being examined in you. When you hear them, when you see the shape of what you actually moved through, I believe something is going to settle in you that has been waiting a long time to land. I hear the Father saying this to you right now, quietly, underneath everything else. I never left the room, not once. I was there in every silent night you thought you were invisible. I was watching, not waiting for you to be perfect, waiting to see if you were real, and you were, every single time. You are not the same person who entered this season. You went in carrying questions you could not answer. You come out having been shaped by the very silence that felt like absence. You went in uncertain whether any of this meant anything. You come out with a kind of knowing that does not require external confirmation. You went in wondering if you were forgotten. You come out as evidence of something far more intentional than you have been given language for yet. In part 2, I am going to give you that language. I am going to show you what the test was examining, what you answered, and what you're passing it has now placed in motion. Stay with me. What comes next is the part that changes how you see everything that has already happened. Welcome back. I promised you the exam paper, and I keep my promises. Let me show you exactly what the test was measuring during your hardest season. 4 specific things. 4 precise dimensions that the divine was examining in how you moved through everything you have been through. And as I name each one, I want you to do something simple. Not physically, just inside. Let each one land. Notice where in your body it registers. Because your recognition of these is itself part of how you begin to understand what you have actually built. The first thing the test was measuring was your character under invisibility. There were long stretches in that season where no one was watching, no one was acknowledging the effort, no one was rewarding the faithfulness or even noticing that you were still showing up, still choosing to hold a standard that the situation did not require of you. You could have quietly let things slip in the spaces where no one would have known the difference. And in some of those moments, the temptation to do exactly that was real. Not because you are a weak person, but because invisibility is one of the most honest tests of who someone actually is. But you did not let things slip. You maintained something when there was no audience for it, no applause waiting on the other side, no guarantee that anyone would ever see it. And that specific thing is one of the rarest qualities in a human being. Most people are who they need to be when they are being observed. The test was asking whether you were that person when you were not. The answer you gave was yes. The second thing the test was examining was your identity under pressure. Circumstances have a way of suggesting that you become something different. Bitterness is always available when you have been hurt. Hardness is always on offer when softness has cost you. The people and situations in your season were, whether they knew it or not, presenting you with a continuous invitation to become smaller, to become reactive, to become someone whose identity is built around what has been done to them rather than who they actually are. You resisted that. Not perfectly, not without feeling the pull. But when the moment came, when you had to actually choose between becoming what the pressure wanted to make you and holding on to who you really were, you held. You bent under the weight of it, yes. But you did not break into someone else. That is an answer of extraordinary significance. The third dimension the test was examining was your faith in a process you could not see. This is the hardest one. I want to be honest about that, because moving forward without evidence is not a natural thing. Every reasonable instinct in you was saying, stop, wait, show me something that confirms this is worth it. Give me a single sign that I am not wasting my time here. And the process gave you very little. The silence held, the proof delayed, the visible results stayed hidden for longer than felt fair. And yet you moved. Slowly sometimes, barely other times. Some days the movement was so small it would not have been visible from the outside. But you did not stop. You did not let the absence of evidence become a verdict of impossibility. You carried yourself forward on something that was not certainty, and you did it anyway. That kind of faith is not common. The test was asking whether you had it. You answered yes. And the fourth thing, the one I want you to sit with most carefully, was your capacity to hold pain without becoming it. Something significant was moving through you in that season. Grief, confusion, the ache of things not working out the way you had believed they would, in ways that did not always have a clean explanation or a clear object to point at. And pain held for long enough tends to do one of two things to a person. It either transforms them or it defines them. It either becomes something they moved through that left them wiser and more real, or it becomes the lens through which they see everything, the story they tell about themselves and the world forever after. You are still here, seeking, reaching for something more than what the pain suggested was available. That tells me everything I need to know. The pain moved through you. It did not become you. And I hear the Spirit saying this over you right now, in the space just beneath everything else. You passed, not because you were flawless, not because you never doubted, but because you were faithful to what actually mattered. When the pressure was at its highest, the test is complete, and what you answered has been heard and received. Now, here is the thing that I believe you came here for today. Because once you see this, everything looks different from here. Most people assume the test was about proving something to God or to the universe, or to whatever name they hold for the force behind all things. That is not quite right. The test was not asking the divine to discover what was in you. It already knew. The test was doing something far more important specifically for you. It was building something into you. The confusion of that season was not a malfunction in the plan. It was the curriculum. Every moment of genuine disorientation, every time you had to navigate without a map, every time you reached for clarity and found only silence, was training your discernment. Installing in you the capacity to find direction from within rather than waiting for it to arrive from outside. The isolation was not abandonment, it was incubation. The most significant things in nature require a closed environment to develop fully. The seed is buried in darkness before it becomes the tree. What was being built in you required the specific gravity of being alone with what is most real, sealed off from noise that would have interrupted the process. And the delay was not evidence that you missed your moment. The delay was the moment. It was the exact duration required for what had to be installed in you to become solid enough to carry what comes next without being crushed by the weight of it. You went in needing validation to feel certain. You are coming out grounded in something that does not require an audience. You went in afraid of the silence. You are coming out capable of living in it and even finding something close to home there. You went in reactive, responding from the surface of things. You are coming out discerning, responding from a deeper place that sees beneath the surface before the surface even settles. You went in, waiting for permission to take up space. You are coming out knowing quietly, solidly, that you were never required to wait for that. This is not a reframe, this is a description of what actually happened to you. You are the wounded healer. Your pain did not disqualify you. It is the exact credential that makes you capable of reaching into places a comfortable person cannot reach, because you have been there. And the people who need what you carry will feel that the moment they encounter you, you are the spiritual warrior, not because you never fell, not because the weight did not sometimes bring you to your knees, but because every single time you were brought to your knees, you got back up. And there is a specific kind of strength that only becomes available to the person who has learned that from practice, not from theory. You are the seer. The season trained your perception in ways a comfortable season never could. You now sense beneath the surface of things. You recognize patterns that others walk past. That sensitivity that sometimes felt like a burden, it is a gift that was being sharpened by exactly what you went through. You are the cycle breaker. What was passed down, the patterns, the ceilings, the limitations that existed before you arrived, they stop with you. The test proved that you will not repeat what came before. And what begins with you will outlast you. Now, I want to share something with you that connects what the spirit already knows with what science is beginning to confirm, because I think it will give you a new way to understand why this season left you feeling different at a level that goes deeper than mindset or attitude. Neuroscientists, studying people who move through sustained periods of pressure and loss and emerge on the other side with their character intact, have found something remarkable in the brain activity of these individuals, the gamma brainwave. It is the frequency associated with deep intuition, accelerated clarity, and what researchers call the flow state, that rare condition where the right answer arrives before you consciously search for it, where the right person shows up at the right moment as if it was arranged, where your mind operates at a level that feels almost beyond what is ordinary. In individuals who have been under sustained pressure, gamma is often suppressed. The weight of chronic confusion and uncertainty does to the brain what the modern world has been doing to most of us since childhood. It gradually dials down the very brainwave that gives access to our deepest capacities. A neuroscientist named Dr. Robert Lake, with 34 years of research drawing on studies from MIT, Harvard, Stanford, and Princeton, identified this as the decline effect. Gamma, which is most active and strongest in young children, is gradually suppressed by the conditions of modern life, beginning around the age of 7. And here is what is significant for you specifically. Chosen one, you were not born with average gamma. The people who feel things as deeply as you do, who sense what others miss, who carry a weight of purpose that ordinary categories cannot quite explain, their gamma baseline is naturally higher. Which means when the suppression hit, the gap you felt between who you sensed you were built to be and who you were actually able to show up as in daily life, that gap was wider than what most people experience. The frustration was real. The sense of something dormant inside you was real. What you just walked through, and the way you walked through it, has created the conditions inside your nervous system for gamma to return, but it may need a catalyst. Something specifically designed to work with the brain's own mechanisms to reopen what pressure temporarily closed. That is what Dr. Lake spent years developing a 7-minute audio track, listened to through headphones, that uses a technology called brain entrainment to bring your brainwave activity back into gamma range. Not meditation, not visualization, applied neuroscience, the same technology that used to require a $7,000 clinical device or $300 per session appointments, compressed into 7 minutes that you can use from wherever you are. Over 18,000 people have already used this. Not as a replacement for spiritual practice, but as the activation of what has already been built inside you. The standard price for this is $49, because Dr. Lake wanted the people watching this specific video to have access without price becoming another barrier. He has made it available for $39 only through the link I have placed in the description and in the pinned comment below this video. That price exists nowhere else. Not on Amazon, not anywhere you search for it online. If you use it and notice no shift, no change in clarity, in intuition, in the quality of how your mind moves, you receive a full refund. No questions, no conditions. One thing I do want you to know, there are imitation versions of this circulating online. Audio files with the same name that do not carry the actual brain entrainment technology embedded in the original. They are ordinary audio with no measurable effect. The only source I trust and have verified is the link below this video. That is the only place you can know with certainty you are receiving what is real. If this is for you, the link is waiting. Before I close, I have to be honest with you about one more thing, because I know what some part of you is saying right now. It is saying, but what if I am not actually the person this is describing? What if I hear all of this and feel recognized, but deep down I am still not sure I am qualified for what comes next? What if I receive something significant and then miss it, or mess it up, or prove in the end that I was not ready after all? I need you to hear this directly. That doubt is not evidence of unworthiness. That doubt is evidence of wisdom. The people who receive significant things and immediately damage them are the ones who never questioned whether they were ready. They had no awareness of what they were holding. Their absence of doubt was not confidence, it was blindness. And blindness is not a qualification. Your healthy reverence for what might be possible from here, the weight you feel when you consider it, that reverence is itself the sign that you are ready. You feel the weight of it because you understand the weight of it. That understanding is the qualification. You are allowed to receive what is coming. You are allowed to stop holding yourself to the standard of perfect before you are permitted to move forward. You are allowed to enter what comes next without carrying the full weight of every moment you almost gave up during the season that just formed you. You are allowed to outgrow the rooms and the relationships that cannot hold what you have become, and you do not owe anyone an apology for becoming who you were always intended to be. We started today with something that had been sitting in your body for longer than it should have had to wait. I want to close with what I believe is the answer. The season that broke things open in you had a real name. Not failure, not punishment, not evidence of being left behind. Its name was examination, and you took it without a study guide, without a warning, without a single moment where someone sat you down and said, "This is what is being asked of you right now, and this is what it means." You answered in real time, with real stakes, under real pressure, with your real self, and your answer was correct. Not because you were flawless, not because you were certain, but because in the moments that defined the answer, the moments where you could have become smaller and you chose not to, where you could have walked away and you stayed, where you could have let the pain become your entire story and you refused in those moments, you gave the right answer every time. You are the wounded healer, and your scars are your credentials. You are the spiritual warrior, and your endurance is your authority. You are the cycle breaker, and what begins with you carries something that did not exist in the generation before you. You are the seer, and what looked like sensitivity in a world that did not know what to do with it was actually a gift being sharpened for a purpose that is only now becoming visible. You are a chosen one, not because your life has been easy, not because you have been exempt from pain, but because through the pain you remained real. And real is what the next season requires. And I hear the Father declaring over you today, in the place beneath all the noise, in the part of you that has been waiting for this to land, the test is complete. The season is shifting. What you held in the dark, I saw every moment of it. What you built when no one was watching, I am about to bring it into the light. You were not forgotten. You were never forgotten. You were being formed. And the forming is finished. Chosen one, now you know. You passed the test you did not know you were taking. The door is already open. The link for the Genius song is in the description and in the pinned comment below. If you feel this is for you, I trust you to know it.